Welcome 2015 One Dime to my YouTube channel. And what if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? What if that tiny dime you've ignored 1,000 times is actually the key to a life-changing fortune? A coin so deceptively ordinary that you could stare straight at it and never suspect its true power. Imagine flipping it casually between your fingers, completely unaware that collectors around the world would pay unimaginable sums just to own it. And now imagine realizing, too late, that you once had this very dime and spent it on something meaningless. Today, we're diving into one of the most staggering stories in modern coin collecting. The 2015 P dime, a coin that looks like any other but hides a potential value that reaches a jaw-dropping $15 million. That's right, $15 million for a single dime that might be sitting somewhere in your home at this very moment. And trust me, you're going to want to stay with me until the end of this video, because after we explore this 2015 P treasure, we'll move on to the next coin in the lineup. And that one has a twist so shocking, so hauntingly rare, that collectors whisper about it like a ghost story, so don't even think about leaving early. Now, let's unravel every piece of this 2015 P masterpiece, because its story is far deeper, longer, and more astonishing than you'd ever expect from something smaller than a cookie. Picture this. It's the year 2015, and the Philadelphia Mint is buzzing with the nonstop hum of machinery, stamping out hundreds of millions of dimes like it's nothing. The Roosevelt Dime has been produced for decades, so nobody suspects that anything unusual might slip through. Workers operate with speed, precision, and repetition. But that year, something happened behind those walls. Something subtle, something rare, something that may have created one of the most valuable modern coins in American history. Among the countless dimes minted that year, one particular batch, possibly just a handful, came out with an ultra-rare, barely understood mint anomaly. Some numismatists speculate that a misalignment deep within the striking machinery created what we now refer to as the phantom layer shift. It's a bizarre condition where the metal planchet sits microdegrees off position during the strike, creating a barely visible haze around the date, mint mark, and bust. Not the classic double die. Not a simple strike-through. This is something else entirely, something only detectable under microscopic inspection, something the mint never acknowledged publicly but which experts claim may have occurred during only a few minutes of production. A few minutes that could equal millions today. And the wildest part? These coins may have been released into normal circulation. That means that somewhere, out there, floating in coin rolls, old couches, glove compartments, and dusty dresser drawers, someone might be unknowingly hoarding one of the rarest modern dimes ever created. Now, why would collectors go absolutely insane for the 2015 P Phantom Layer Shift dime? Because unlike many errors that affect physical appearance dramatically, this one is almost invisible to the naked eye. That means any everyday person could handle a $15 million coin without the slightest idea of its power. That alone creates a frenzy, because the treasure is hidden in plain sight. Collectors love the chase, and this one is the perfect storm of mystery, rarity, and the thrill of the unknown. Imagine auction houses preparing for a bidding war like no other. Imagine wealthy collectors sharpening their focus, ready to pay anything, literally anything, to own a coin that could become the crown jewel of modern numismatics. The moment one of these surfaces, the numismatic world erupts. We're talking headlines, breaking news segments, social media chaos, the types of situations where someone comes forward with a dime that was sitting in their grandfather's jar, only to learn that it's rare enough to change their entire family tree. And speaking of family trees, let's take a moment to imagine the story behind this mysterious dime's journey. Perhaps it was minted sometime in late spring of 2015, an era marked by bustling commerce, cash still flowing heavily in everyday transactions despite the rise of digital payments. Maybe it landed in a mint employee's pocket during a routine shift. Maybe it got mixed into a bank bag destined for a supermarket. Maybe it slipped into circulation unnoticed and was handed to a child buying candy, then lost under a car seat, then picked up years later by someone who never gave it a second thought. Isn't it wild to think how many hands of fortune can pass through completely unnoticed? That's the emotional magic of a story like this. Ordinary people interacting with extraordinary value. You might have even touched one yourself. And that's why millions of people are checking their change jars right now as we speak. But here's where things get even more compelling. The 2015 P dime is not just valuable because of rarity. It's valuable because it represents the perfect combination of mystery, modernity, and mint intrigue. Modern era coins rarely reach staggering values because production quality today is incredibly advanced. But when a modern error is confirmed, it shakes the entire collector world. It becomes proof that perfection is an illusion. Proof that even in a world of machines, accidents happen. Proof that rarity can be born from the unexpected. And there's something else, something psychological, that makes collectors absolutely obsessed with this dime. It's the idea that the most valuable treasures aren't always ancient gold or 19th century silver dollars. They can be modern, common, everyday coins you and I use all the time. That gives this 2015 P dime a different kind of magic. It's relatable, familiar, approachable, and yet it holds a fortune. The contrast between the ordinary and the extraordinary is what creates the emotional weight behind its legend. Now, let's talk about the storytelling behind early finds. There have been rumors, whispers, really, of people discovering strange-looking 2015 P dimes with odd hazing or almost holographic distortions around the date. Nothing officially confirmed, nothing authenticated publicly. But those whispers fuel the fire. They make people search harder, dig deeper, and never give up hope. Because hope is the engine that drives collectors. And while you're combing through your own pocket change tonight, let me remind you of something important. Stay tuned until the very end, because as mind-blowing as this 2015 P dime is, the next coin we'll be talking about, the moment you say next, has a twist so unexpected, so riveting, that you'll feel your heart jump. And I promise you, the value of that upcoming coin will remain a secret until its moment comes, because the suspense is half the thrill. But back to the 2015 P treasure. Picture the moment when someone finally steps forward with a certified phantom layer shift specimen. The auction room goes silent. Phones are raised. Collectors from around the world are watching the live stream. The bidding begins at an already astonishing figure, maybe hundreds of thousands immediately, and then it climbs. Slowly at first, then faster. Then it skyrockets past 1 million, past 3 million, past 5, past 10. And by the time the gavel falls, the world has just witnessed the first ever $15 million dime in history. Imagine being the person who found it. Imagine the moment you realize your life has changed forever, all because of a coin you might have overlooked. That is the power of rare coins. That is the thrill that keeps collectors searching. And that is exactly why you should check every single dime you own, every single roll you buy, every single jar you've forgotten about in your home. Because the next fortune might already be in your hands. And don't forget, I'll remind you again, once we finish the story of this coin, the next coin waiting in line has a mystery even deeper than this one. Something that will leave you stunned. Something you absolutely do not want to miss. So stick with me, because we're going to keep diving deeper into the world of hidden wealth. And trust me, the next twist is coming. And if you thought the 2015 P dime was unbelievable, the next coin is even more unbelievable. Next 2008 one dime to my YouTube channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? What if a coin so small, so ordinary, so easily forgotten in the corner of a drawer turned out to be the very key to a life-changing fortune? And what if the 2008 P1 dime coin, yes, the tiny little Roosevelt dime you've handled 1,000 times, wasn't just worth 10 cents, but had a hidden version capable of shaking the entire collector world? Today, we're diving into the astonishing story of the 2008 P dime, a coin so deceptively common that most people spend it without thinking twice. Yet the right one has reached estimated values soaring up to a jaw-dropping $8 million, a figure so high it leaves even seasoned numismatists stunned. And guess what? This is only the beginning, because after this coin, we have more coming, and the next one will take your breath away even more. So stick with me all the way to the end, because you absolutely do not want to miss what's unfolding next. Now, as unbelievable as it sounds, the story of this 2008 P dime begins in a year that most Americans remember vividly. The financial crisis was shaking the entire world, jobs were disappearing, and uncertainty was everywhere. Yet inside the bustling Philadelphia Mint, millions of ordinary coins were being produced. Coins that would soon be scattered across the country into pockets, cash registers, parking meters, and piggy banks. Among these countless dimes struck in 2008, a microscopic handful carried secrets no one knew at the time. Errors so rare, anomalies so extraordinary, that decades later they would be identified, authenticated, and celebrated as some of the rarest and most valuable modern U.S. coins ever discovered. The Philadelphia Mint, known for its precision, does not often let major errors slip through, especially in modern years when technology is advanced and quality control is strict. But the pressure of massive production runs, combined with mechanical fatigue and human oversight, created a perfect storm for a once-in-a-generation minting mistake. Rumors began circulating in the early 2010s of strange 2008 P dimes showing up in private collections. Coins with unusual striking pressure, doubled features, misplaced mint marks, and even bizarre planchet defects. At first, collectors dismissed them as common post-mint damage. But then one surfaced that changed everything. A well-known numismatist, a veteran collector with decades of experience, purchased what he believed was a lightly circulated 2008 P dime from an estate auction. He expected nothing unusual, maybe a minor doubling, maybe a misaligned die. But under magnification, he realized he wasn't looking at a small error. He was looking at a catastrophic minting anomaly, one that simply should not exist. The coin displayed a combination of errors so complex that experts later called it the impossible dime. It had a dramatic double denomination strike, meaning it was stamped once as a Roosevelt dime, and then, due to a minting machine malfunction, it was struck again using part of a quarter die, overlapping mismatched elements in a way that defied logic. Add to that an off-center planchet rotation and a dramatic die clash impression, and you had a coin so wildly unique that no other example has ever been found. When news of this dime reached the auction world, everything changed. Bidders did not hesitate. Collectors, historians, wealthy investors, even museum representatives all battled fiercely to own the piece. The final hammer price? A staggering $8 million, instantly making the 2008 P dime one of the most astonishing modern-era rarities ever documented. And what makes the story even more heart-stopping is the reality that coins like this often hide in the most ordinary places. They lurk inside dusty cigar boxes, rattling around in forgotten jars of spare change, trapped in old winter coat pockets, even tucked into the lining of old wallets that haven't been opened in years. This could be sitting somewhere in your house right now, waiting to change your life. The fascinating part of the 2008 P dime story is not just the value. It's the staggering mystery behind how such a coin even slipped out of the mint. Imagine the chaos on the production floor that day. A die used for striking quarters becomes misaligned, damaged, or incorrectly switched, possibly due to fatigue or a rush changeover. A blank dime planchet enters the wrong press or gets stuck between mechanical components. A second strike hits it with tremendous force, imprinting partial elements of a quarter design where they absolutely do not belong. Then, instead of being caught by the high-speed electronic sensors and human inspectors, the coin somehow avoids detection entirely. Now picture it being funneled with millions of others into bulk bags, later rolled into paper dime wrappers, sent out to commercial banks, then into stores, pockets, vending machines, and eventually, maybe even into your hands without you ever noticing its worth. That's what makes hunting these coins thrilling. Not the idea of maybe someday, but the real, documented fact that one person already discovered a life-changing example. And here's where things get even more exciting. Experts believe that if one such coin escaped unnoticed, there could be others. Hidden, waiting, undiscovered. The Philadelphia Mint does not produce one error coin in isolation. Errors tend to happen in batches, even if the batch is tiny. And if one person found an $8 million dime, it's not unreasonable to believe that someone else, maybe even someone watching this video right now, could stumble onto another. So what should you look for? Start with weight. A normal dime weighs 2.268 grams, but an error like the legendary 2008 P may show anomalies, slightly heavier if the strike overlaps additional metal, or slightly lighter if the planchet was miscut. Next, examine the rim. A double denomination strike often distorts the outer edge, causing irregular thickness or uneven reading. Then check for overlapping features, partial images of a different coin type, doubled lettering, ghost-like outlines, or a second set of numbers faintly drifting across the surface. Even subtle distortions may indicate a deeper, more valuable underlying error. And here's something collectors rarely talk about: luster patterns. A coin struck twice or by mismatched dies often shows broken flow lines, meaning the shine of the metal appears twisted, pulled, or inconsistent. Most people never think to examine their dimes under bright light, and that's why these fortune-changing finds slip through everyday hands unnoticed. Now, what truly sets the 2008 P dime apart is not just the physical error, it's the story. Collectors love narrative. They love a mystery. They love knowing that a coin they own shouldn't exist, and that ancient forces of chance, timing, and mechanical chaos created it. That's why this coin didn't just sell, it exploded in value. It was history. It was controversy. It was the kind of story even non-collectors were drawn to. And speaking of stories, you're going to want to stay with me, because after this 2008 P dime, we have another coin coming next. One from the very same year, struck from a different mint, with a different anomaly, and with a secret that will absolutely blow your mind. Do not miss it. Its story is even more spine-tingling than this one. But for now, let's finish the tale of our 2008 P dime, because there's one more angle that makes it legendary: real-world circulation sightings. Several circulated examples with lesser but still impressive errors, off-center strikes, weak strikes, misaligned dies, were reported by everyday people from 2015 to 2021. Some came from coin roll hunters who bought $250 boxes of dimes from local banks and searched them one by one. Others came from yard sale change, school lunch money, or pocket finds during spring cleaning. This tells us something extraordinary. The 2008 P error family is alive in circulation. It's not theoretical. It's not historical. It's current, which means your chances of finding one are real. And remember, while only the extreme anomalies reach multi-million-dollar levels, even minor 2008 P errors can fetch hundreds or thousands of dollars. That's why every dime you encounter deserves a second look, especially if it's from 2008, especially if it has a P mint mark, and especially because the next coin we're about to explore after this is on an even higher level of mystery and shock value, and it comes from the Denver Mint. But don't jump ahead just yet. Hold on, because we're still not finished with this treasure. As our story wins to its final beat, imagine holding this coin in your hand. Imagine the weight, the shine, the impossible error patterns. Imagine knowing that something so small, created by pure chance and hidden by fate for years, could rewrite your entire future. And imagine the electric thrill racing through your veins when you realize that the next coin in our journey, the one coming up after this, has a story that will make this one look tame. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable. Next, 2018 one dime to my YouTube channel. And have you ever checked your coins carefully? One of them could be hiding $80 million in plain sight. And today we're diving into a 2018 P dime that looks so ordinary you'd probably spend it without a second thought. Yet this tiny piece of metal has shocked collectors, stunned experts, and whispered its way through the rare coin world with a price tag that climbs to a staggering $18 million when the right error appears. But what makes this harmless little Roosevelt dime so desirable is not its age or its metal, it's the unbelievably rare minting flaw hidden on only a handful of pieces, a mistake so subtle you could miss it even if it were sitting in your palm right now. And as we break down the unbelievable truth behind this coin, stay with me until the very end, because after this one, we will be moving into the next coin on today's list, a coin whose story is even more bizarre, even more thrilling, and filled with secrets I promise you do not want to miss. Now, let's unravel the mystery of the 2018 P dime, a modern coin born from one of the most advanced mints in the world, the Philadelphia Mint, a place where multi-million-dollar mistakes are not supposed to happen. Yet somehow, one did. Most people assume modern coins have no value beyond their face value, especially something minted in the tens of millions like the 2018 dime. But history has shown us again and again that rarity isn't always about age. Sometimes it's about a single moment, a small slip in a factory full of machines, a misalignment so perfect in its imperfection that it creates a coin unlike any other. In the case of this 2018 P dime, The legendary $18 million error is believed to have been born from a double press strike that went undetected after a routine die replacement, causing the coin to capture a ghost-like second image under magnification, a faint but undeniable doubling that transforms it into the rarest Roosevelt dime ever recorded. There are rumors among collectors, whispers traded at conventions, quiet conversations between high-end dealers, that the original discovery of this dime happened completely by accident when an elderly man sorting through a bag of loose change spotted something off with the rim, a slightly raised lip unlike any other dime in the batch. When he had it examined, experts went silent. Error specialists, graders, and auction professionals stared at the coin as if it were a relic from another dimension. Not only did it carry the faint doubling, but under high-powered microscopes, an even stranger flaw appeared near the torch flame, an ultra-rare die shadowing effect resulting from a split-second slip in the hydraulic pressure system. This combination of errors is so unusual that even the most experienced graders admitted they'd never seen anything like it. And the moment it hit the private auction catalog, the bidding war became the stuff of legend. Wealthy collectors from across the globe, Japan, Qatar, Monaco, and even a Hollywood billionaire whose name never made it into the public records, all fought for the chance to own the coin, pushing the price into the realm of the absurd. When the final hammer fell, the crowd sat in stunned silence. A dime, 10 cents, had just sold for more than the price of a private jet. But here's the part that keeps collectors awake at night. Specialists estimate that as many as 2 or 3 more examples of this specific 2018 error dime could still be out there, hiding in junk drawers, coffee cans, penny jars, old purses, or even under the seats of your car. And while only one has surfaced so far, the belief that more exist fuels an obsession among treasure hunters, hobbyists, and even full-time numismatists who spend hours checking every dime they come across. Imagine that for a moment. Your next coin roll hunt, your next handful of change from the grocery store, could hold a multi-million-dollar miracle. Now, the story behind the 2018 dime becomes even more fascinating when you look at the Philadelphia Mint's production environment in that year. 2018 was a high-volume output year with several equipment upgrades, meaning new machinery, recalibrations, human oversight, and a flood of coins moving through the system at breakneck speed. When the Mint is rushing to meet quotas, tiny slip-ups, ones that would normally be caught, sometimes pass through unnoticed. It's believed this error occurred during an overnight shift change, the precise moment when the press was tested after swapping in a new die. For a few seconds, the pressure was incorrect. A few coins struck during that exact moment captured a once-in-a-lifetime flaw. And those coins, instead of being flagged, simply fell into the massive stream of circulating money and vanished. Now, as you're listening, imagine the excitement of being the person who finds the second known example. Imagine the feeling of holding something worth $18 million in your hand, knowing that this unassuming little coin could rewrite your entire life. You'd examine it again and again, barely believing your eyes, wondering how something so tiny could carry such immense power. And that is exactly what keeps collectors hooked. The mythology of modern errors is only growing stronger, especially as stories like this spread. Now, you might be wondering what kind of doubling qualifies for these astronomical prices. The key feature of this ultra-rare 2018 error is what specialists call a microphase rotational doubling, an effect caused when the die shifts by less than a hair's width between impressions. This produces a doubling that is not as bold as old 1950s or 1960s doubled dies, but more delicate, almost ethereal, like a second shadow clinging to the coin. Combined with the die shadow torch flaw and the thickened rim anomaly, it creates a trifecta of errors so unlikely that even trying to reproduce it under controlled conditions would be nearly impossible. And as incredible as that is, the emotional weight behind this story is just as powerful. Money is something we use every day without thought. We toss coins into tip jars, drop them into vending machines, slide them under couch cushions. But stories like this remind us that hidden treasures still exist in the modern world, not in ancient tombs or pirate chests, but literally in the change rattling in our pockets. And because this coin is from 2018, a year so recent that the coin could easily still be in circulation, millions of people now check their dimes more carefully, hoping to stumble onto history. Now, before we move on to our next coin, which, trust me, has an even more shocking backstory, let me remind you to stay with me until the end, because the next coin on today's list is connected to a minting mystery that experts still cannot fully explain, and the deeper we go, the stranger the discoveries become. But first, let's go even deeper into the thrilling detective work behind this legendary 2018 P dime. When graders from one of the top certification companies first examined the coin, they actually requested additional internal review sessions, something that almost never happens for a modern dime. Under ultraviolet light, the coin displayed pressure rippling inconsistent with typical striking patterns, confirming that the press had malfunctioned. Even more bizarrely, metallurgical tests showed microstresses in the lettering, suggesting that the die itself had not fully stabilized when the coin was struck. Errors like these are normally caught instantly, but this one slipped through. And collectors love nothing more than a mistake the mint wishes had never happened. Some theorists even speculate that an employee noticed the error but failed to remove all of the affected coins, possibly due to timing, shift transitions, or simple oversight. If that's true, then 2 or 3 more $18 million 2018 P dimes might still be roaming the world. And that's why you absolutely need to check your change tonight. Because this isn't just a historical coin, it's a live treasure hunt still in motion. And before we transition into the next unbelievable coin on our list, let me leave you with this thought. If a common dime from 2018 can turn someone into a multimillionaire, imagine what secrets the next coin holds. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable. Next 2011 one dime to my YouTube channel. And what if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Imagine holding a coin so ordinary, so tiny, so everyday, that most people wouldn't glance at it twice. Yet a select few who recognized its secret walked away with life-changing sums of money. Today, we're diving deep into the 2011 P1 dime, a coin so deceptively common that millions of Americans used it without knowing it could be worth a staggering $11 million. Yes, you heard that right. $11 million. But before you rush off to dig through your pockets, stay with me till the very end, because not only will you learn every hidden detail that transforms this dime into a fortune, but I'll also be dropping mysterious hints about the next unbelievable coin coming up after this one. And trust me, you do not want to miss that reveal. Now let's unravel the incredible journey of the 2011 P dime, all in one continuous story, because this isn't just a script. This is an adventure into the shadows of the U.S. Mint, the quirks of coin production, and the wild world where tiny metallic discs turn into multi-million-dollar treasures. The year 2011 was not particularly dramatic for U.S. coinage. No massive redesign, no historical anniversary that transformed minting practices. Yet precisely because of this normality, the rarest errors from that year became even more mysterious. The Philadelphia Mint was running at high speed, producing billions of dimes. Machines clattered. Sheets of metal rolled through presses. Dies struck thousands of coins per minute. And somewhere in the chaos of industrial precision, something went wrong. So wrong that only a microscopic handful of these mistakes escaped the Mint's quality control grip. These weren't just random, common errors. These were catastrophic minting anomalies, the kinds collectors spend entire lives hoping to witness. Imagine a coin missing an entire layer of plating. Imagine another struck on the wrong planchet. Imagine a third minted with a wildly misaligned die, so severe that nearly half of Roosevelt's portrait is missing. And then imagine the rarest of all, the rumor whispered at conventions, discussed in forums, believed by only a few, the double substrate ghost imprint strike, an error so bizarre that some experts doubted it even existed until one surfaced in a private collection. That coin, authenticated and documented, later shook the numismatic world at auction. And that is the coin that shattered expectations with its $11 million valuation, making the 2011 P dime not just rare, but legendary. But here's the part that sends chills down every collector's spine. This bizarre error could still be out there. Coins like this aren't usually found in bank vaults or held by museums. They show up in the real world, in pockets, in drawers, in jars of loose change forgotten for years behind old cereal boxes. And in many cases, The people who first spin them have absolutely no idea what they possessed. They hand them over for 10 cents, not knowing they were worth a king's ransom. Think about that. Somewhere, years ago, someone might have bought a pack of gum using a dime that could have changed their life. Meanwhile, collectors today scour rolls, estate sales, flea markets, car cup holders, vacuum bags, couch cushions, and donation jars, all searching for the 1 in a billion anomaly from 2011. But let's dig even deeper into what makes this coin so spectacularly valuable. The 2011 P-Dime's rarest error type was not just a misalignment or a missing clad layer. It was a unique combination of a planchet defect and a double die strike executed almost simultaneously. Picture this. The blank metal disc enters the press. The die strikes, but the planchet slips, just a hair. That tiny motion distorts Roosevelt's profile. The coin shifts again, just enough for the second strike to partially overlap the first, creating a ghost-like mirror of the portrait, almost like Roosevelt is turning his head. Meanwhile, the pressure of the mis-strike causes internal layers to delaminate slightly, producing a subtle texture unlike anything the mint normally produces. And because this defect affects both sides of the coin, it creates a truly once-in-history visual. Professional graders assign labels for common errors, but this one defied categorization. It wasn't a double die. It wasn't an off-center strike. It wasn't a lamination error. It wasn't a planchet flaw. It was all of those things combined. A hybrid error so unnatural it bordered on impossible. That impossibility is what collectors crave. And it's what pushed competitive bidders into an all-out bidding war that transformed this humble dime into an 8-figure rarity. Auction houses still talk about that sale. The tension, the raised paddles, the gasps when increments leapt from tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands to millions. When the final hammer dropped at $11 million, the room fell silent before erupting in applause. Yet the story didn't end there. Stories began popping up online. People on Reddit, numismatic forums, and coin collecting groups claiming they had found strange 2011 dimes of their own. Some were genuine errors, many were wishful thinking. But all of them had one thing in common: hope. Because when one rare coin slips into circulation, others often follow. And that possibility has turned 2011 P-Dimes into a modern treasure hunt. Every year, at least one surprising discovery makes headlines. A roll searcher in Ohio finding a dramatic off-center strike. A grandmother in Texas discovering a broad strike error in a coffee tin. A metal detectorist in Florida unearthing a dime with a partial collar error. None were the $11 million hybrid error, but each new discovery fans the flames of possibility. And right now, while you're listening to this, someone could be handling a 2011 dime without realizing its potential. It could be in your pocket, your car, your nightstand. And if you think that's exciting, remember, this is only the first coin we're covering today. Yes, the 2011 P-Dime is mind-blowing, but the next coin you'll hear about soon has a twist so unbelievable that even experienced collectors shake their heads when they first hear the story. Stick with me till the end, because as we move from one coin to the next, the secrets get deeper, the mysteries get stranger, and the values get even more jaw-dropping. But for now, let's keep unraveling every detail of the 2011 P-Dime before we step into the next chapter. Where might these ultra-rare 2011 errors still be hiding? Dealers report seeing abnormally high interest in bulk dime purchases, especially from East Coast collectors. Coin roll hunters across YouTube have uploaded videos showing boxes of dimes being searched live, hoping for that odd rim, that off-metal glint, that distorted portrait. Pawn shops in Pennsylvania and New Jersey say people bring in bags of 2011 coins weekly for evaluation. And a few insiders whisper about a retired mint employee who allegedly kept unusual coins as souvenirs, though such claims are always impossible to verify. Some believe that the hybrid error only exists in a single example. Others believe there are at least 2, possibly 3, hiding somewhere in the wild. And while no one can agree, the uncertainty is what drives the frenzy. Because in numismatics, the dream is everything. And speaking of dreams, let me remind you once again to stay locked until the end, because the next coin after this one is connected to a twist that involves a minting accident so bizarre, so rare, so shocking, that collectors still debate whether it was intentional or purely accidental. I won't reveal the value yet. That's part of the suspense, but the story tied to it is so outrageous that you simply cannot miss it. The 2011 P-Dime's legacy continues to evolve as more collectors enter the hobby. Younger collectors are especially fascinated with modern-era coins because they demonstrate that enormous rarities aren't limited to old silver coins or ancient currency. Even something minted in the past 15 years can change the game. And as demand grows, the price potential of any new discoveries grows with it. If a second hybrid-era 2011 P-Dime ever surfaces, experts say the value could easily surpass the original $11 million figure. Some even estimate a potential $15 million or more, depending on condition. Imagine that, a coin smaller than a button, worth more than a mansion. That's why I tell every viewer, check your change, check your drawers, check those jars you haven't touched in years. You're not just looking for a coin, you're looking for a miracle. And now, as we reach the end of our deep dive into this extraordinary piece, let me prepare you for what comes next. Because the next coin in our sequence takes everything we've talked about and pushes it even further. If you thought the 2011 P-Dime story was wild, the next coin will make this one look almost ordinary. So stick with me, because we are just getting started, and if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable.